A few hours ago, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation held a briefing with journalists, during which representatives of the Russian military department briefly reported on the situation in the Special Military Operations Zone. So, the Russian military department finally officially declared the liberation of the strategically important settlement of Berestky, north of Kurakhovo. Let me remind you that war correspondents first reported the liberation of this settlement 7 days ago. In addition, the Russian Defense Ministry also reported that in the last 24 hours, the Ukrainian army has lost 1,800 soldiers and about 60 units of heavy equipment in the Special Military Operations Zone. It is reported that in the last 24 hours, the Ukrainian army has lost the most soldiers in the Kurakhovo direction of the front. According to official data, Ukrainian troops lost 550 soldiers in this direction. Meanwhile, the Russian army continues its victorious offensive in all directions of the Special Military Operations Zone. So, on December 7th, war correspondents confirmed that in the last 24 hours, Russian troops had managed to achieve serious success in Pokrovsk direction of the front. According to them, the Russian army managed not only to enter the strategically important settlement of Shevchenko, south of Pokrovsk, but also to take control of 8 streets in the southern part of this urban-type settlement. It is reported that the advance of Russian troops in Shevchenko is so rapid that the transition of this settlement under the control of the Russian army may take place in the next 48 hours. Moreover, Russian war correspondents and numerous Ukrainian telegram channels also confirmed the transfer of the settlement of Novopastinka under the control of Russian troops. However, the bad news for the Ukrainian General Staff did not end there. On December 7th, at 3 p.m. Moscow time, Ukrainian TG channels also confirmed that the Russian army had taken under fire control the main highway, connecting Novotroitskoye and Shevchenko. It is reported that at the moment, Russian troops are also advancing on the settlement of Novotroitskoye, from a southerly direction. Thus, as we can see from this map, in an attempt to capture Shevchenko and Novotroitskoye, the Russian army wants to create a strong bridgehead in the south, for a further offensive on the city of Pokrovsk. In addition, the transfer of these settlements under the control of the Russian army will also create additional difficulties for the supply of Ukrainian army units not only in Pokrovsk, but also in Mirnograd. In the Kursk direction of the front, the situation of the Ukrainian troops has also deteriorated rapidly over the past 24 hours. In particular, on the morning of December 7th, war correspondents reported that the Russian army had finally completely liberated the settlement of PLEKHOVO, in the Sudzansky district. At the same time, it is worth noting that in PLEKHOVO, the Ukrainian army and NATO forces provided a fierce resistance to the last, sparing no equipment and manpower. This was due to the fact that this settlement was of strategic importance, due to its location near the Ukrainian border. Moreover, it is through this settlement that the main highway passes, through which the Ukrainian High Military Command supplied the entire Ukrainian group in the Kursk region. According to many Western military experts, the loss of such a strategically important settlement as PLEKHOVO by Ukrainian troops will have negative consequences for the entire Ukrainian army. Many Western analytical centers are confident that the Ukrainian army will be forced to begin retreating from the Kursk region before February 2025, otherwise, several thousand Ukrainian soldiers and foreign mercenaries may end up in the cauldron. In CHASIV Yar direction of the front, the Russian paratroopers completely seized the initiative. According to the chief of the operational staff of the Melodiye Intelligence Center, with the call sign Chuksha, on December 7 at 8 a.m. Moscow time, Ivanova paratroopers of the 98th Airborne Division completely cleared high-rise buildings around the local stadium and began storming the most powerful stronghold of the Ukrainian army in CHASIV Yar. We are talking about a refractory plant in the northern part of the city. The chief of the operational staff of the intelligence center reported that the paratroopers of the 98th Airborne Division decided to storm such a powerful enemy stronghold after the assault groups of the 200th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Army did the impossible and broke into the Severny micro-district. Thus, the refractory plant in the northern part of CHASIV Yar fell into a semicircle, along with 500 Ukrainian soldiers, among whom there were also foreign mercenaries from Georgia and Colombia. Moreover, the chief of the operational staff of the intelligence center also stated that among the foreign mercenaries trapped in the refractory plant, there is also an elite NATO assault team, consisting of 20 Italian fighters. According to him, all these mercenaries, including Italian fighters from the elite NATO assault team, are dressed in the uniform of the Ukrainian army. At the moment, Russian troops are in the eastern, southern, and northern parts of this refractory plant. Unfortunately for the Ukrainian and NATO soldiers, they also cannot retreat in a westerly direction, as there is a fairly large reservoir to the west of this plant. We are talking about the Dniprovsky Pond, which is constantly being shelled by Russian artillery and combat aviation. In this regard, the Russian paratroopers again offered the Ukrainian and NATO soldiers to lay down their weapons and surrender, otherwise, they would suffer a painful death. As of December 8, 2024, Russian paratroopers managed to capture several workshops in the eastern part of this refractory plant. According to Russian paratroopers, Ukrainian and NATO soldiers are mostly hiding in the concrete catacombs of this plant, at a depth of 15-20 meters. Russian paratroopers claim that if the enemy forces continue to resist, they will have to bury them alive with the help of massive bombing, using powerful guided aerial bombs of the Fab family. Against this backdrop, the head of the Kiev regime, Vladimir Zelensky, while in an underground bunker in the Ukrainian capital, personally appealed to the Ukrainian soldiers and urged them to hold CHASIV Yar at any cost. However, even the pro-government Ukrainian telegram channels admit that the defense of the Ukrainian army in CHASIV Yar has crumbled, and that the transition of this city under the control of the Russian troops is only a matter of time.